As the nationwide protest enters its day 5, more Nigerians are beginning to add their voices to ensure that dialogue prevails over the continuation of the protest tagged End Bad Governance in Nigeria. While some senior citizens are calling for a stop to the protest and allow for a continuous dialogue with the federal government, some other organizers of the protest are bent on fulfilling the 10 days set aside for the protest. However, in resolving the protest, founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank and a NAP Foundation, Atedo Peterside, has appealed to youths to suspend the End Bad Governance protest today. Peterside states that poor Nigerians cannot, in his words, endure protests for more than a few days. He adds that the protesters have made their point and that their massive turnout has frightened many people. He said, "You have shaken Nigeria to the core and dispelled the falsehood that many of our youths are not politically active and do not care to demand good governance." He wrote this on X. Meanwhile, one of the organizers of End Bad Governance protests, Take It Back, has flatly rejected appeals from President Bola Tinubu to stop its nationwide protest and embrace dialogue. Addressing journalists in Abuja on Sunday, the protesters insist that their protest plan for 10 days will continue as scheduled, saying that the president's speech was empty, in their words, and completely failed to address their demands. Joining us now on the show as we look at ways and means of resolving the nationwide protests is Lanre Issa-Onilu, Director General, National Orientation Agency, NOA. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, Lanre Issa-Onilu, thank you for joining us. It's good you are here, because only yesterday we were discussing you on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. And the question that was posed was, where is National Orientation Agency in this matter?
Orientation Agency.
And I think yes. Who was defending you, maybe it was Dr. Monday Ubani or Professor Aworawo, that, look, some of these agencies are underfunded. So is it that NOA has been silent because you are underfunded, or because you just wanted to allow other people to do the job? So you have to start by defending yourself before we talk about other issues. They say you've been missing in action.
Far from it. I mean, you are... You of all people know that we have not been missing in action. Let me start by saying, to say NOA is underfunded is actually an understatement. It's worse than that. The agency over 2 decades has been abandoned completely. And so what I made was nothing to even talk about. So for the last 8-9 months, the process of rejigging the system, of revitalizing the agency, getting the staff to get back to work has been very, very challenging because there is nothing in NOA. Let me start by saying NOA has 812 office locations nationwide, and that is all the local government, the 774 local government, and the 36 state and FCT, and then the headquarters. Only 5 out of these 812 offices belong to NOA. It's either we are squatting somewhere or somebody is ejecting us from somewhere, you know. So we have been battling with all of that. As of today, from 7,000 staff strength, we have less than 4,000. Not a single vehicle since I got to office October last year. I used my personal vehicle. So nothing. You cannot really mobilize Nigerians when you don't even have mobility. But that is not to say that we have just not done anything. As of today, we have put in place a lot of platforms of engagement. Now, as I speak to you today in NOA, we have some of the best technology that you can find for communication in this country, even without that funding that we are talking about. We deploy artificial intelligence, that we are relating with youth, because we are in a country where the youth population is huge. 35 years and below constitutes about 75% of our population. So you must be able to play with them in their own field where they want to be engaged. And we have been doing all of that. We have come up with a lot of initiatives, but not everybody is on the social media, there are a lot of people, millions of Nigerians who are outside of the social media. So as of today, we have a huge database of Nigerians. If you come to NOA and you tell me this is your local government, then we can tell you who is the chairperson or secretary and give you the contact details of those people who are leading the onion seller association, the yam seller, the barber, the vulcanizer, the tailor, the bricklayer, the mechanic, name it. We have all this data, and our staff in the local government that we call COMOs, that is Community Orientation and Mobilization Officers, are busy in the local government engaging with these people, even without resources, even without mobility. They are doing the best they can. So that's why we have to use technology, put them all in a group where we can relate with them and through them to their members. So we are communicating with them, as well as our relationship with the media has been strengthened. But let me also say that it doesn't mean that we are not experiencing some attention, getting attention from the government. Now we have a new government in place. I'm also new on the job. And the president deliberately put the Ministry of Information and National Orientation in place. Don't forget that it used to be Ministry of Information and Culture and Tourism. And so, but now we have Ministry of Information and National Orientation. And so all this didn't happen by accident. It's because the president is deliberate in his focus on the need to give Nigerians orientation. We don't have value system in the country. And when you don't have value system, you cannot, look further for why we are in this situation that we have found ourselves. So we are a country that we are struggling to build, and yet we are not paying attention to building Nigerians themselves. So you cannot build Nigeria without building Nigerians. And that's why we have come up with what we call the National Identity Project that the president is going to unveil very soon. I thought I shared this with you the last time in Lagos or something like that. So we are working seriously on all of that. So communication landscape, media landscape has changed. Technology has changed it. Media tastes have changed. Yeah. The consumption habits have changed. And we are responding to all of that. But for an institution that was abandoned for 2 decades, it will take a bit of a time to get it completely well and good.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Issa-Onilu. We can appreciate what you've said in terms of budget, but also know that necessity is the mother of invention. So where you have lacking in funding, and I don't think it might improve anytime, because we're even asking the government to cut costs of governance a bit further, and let's get a bit creative with how we can leverage relationships to still do the job in the interim. There's an article you wrote on the 30th of July, 2024, about the protest, burning down the barn. It was more like a question. And so that's an opportunity, even you being on air today. So what would you say to protesters in terms of information and to inform Nigerians, or at least to prevent what could be a discontent amongst the people with regards to this administration and the hashtag end bad governance? What would you say to that? And also your take on people's response or reaction to the speech made by the president. Maybe I should ask you that, in your view, should the speech have come earlier, or was it, best timed and great content? Your take on this?
Okay, yeah. First and foremost, there are no surprises in this protest at all. A lot of Nigerians said before the protest that there was no way this protest will happen, that there will not be violence. And so we were not even talking about whether the protest was justified or not. We are talking of the precarious situation that we are in the country, that we had to be careful. And that was why many Nigerians felt, let's use other means to protest, because protest is not just when you are on the streets. There are different ways of protesting. On a daily basis, you bring people on your studio, into your studio, who talk and protest through whatever the opinions they express. So there are different forms of protest. And so people who call for caution, who ask us to use some other means, knew why they said it. And we have all seen that the protest has gone to the south. So now what do we need to do? I think the president has demonstrated from day one that he understands what he needs to do. And I believe he has had the protesters, they have made their point loud and clear, even though without making those points, the president was working on most of those issues even before the protest. So, and that's why you also create opportunity for people who do not mean well. So a lot of them who are on the streets actually are on the streets justifiably because they are feeling the pang, of the hardship. But there are a lot of people who are also taking advantage of the situation. So the president's speech, for me, I think it came at the right time because you have to at least allow, a lot of work went on there, not just the president's speech. 3 weeks before the protest, a lot of government officials, including the president, were all out there reaching out, even to the protester, through the back door, engaging with them, trying to get them to reason along and come to a conclusion on how to move forward without disrupting the peace of this country.
That's interesting information. So, what kind of engagement? What kind of engagement with the protesters before the day?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that were obvious. The ones that were obvious included you seeing the traditional rulers, had a meeting with the president, the governors had a meeting with the president, different stakeholders had a meeting with the president. Those are the ones that were obvious. A lot of other ones went behind the scene. The security agencies tried to reach out to the leaders of the protesters, even before, a week, 2 weeks before that time, tried to identify them, tried to reach out to them. So some of them came forward, some didn't come forward. Eventually, there was an engagement that involved some of their lawyers. So efforts were made. And until you see the outcome, the president cannot just jump into the fray and begin to talk even before all the facts are before him. So until the process began, and we have all seen what has happened, it needed to come out, and it did come out.
Right, Mr. Onilu, good to see you again. It's been a while. I saw you when you were on
my brother.
The second part of the morning show, when you were still at the APC, when you were deputy national, publicity secretary of the APC. But good to see you again.
Publicity secretary.
Yeah, Mr. Onilu, I want to work with you guys, the NOA, and there are a lot of things I'm not happy about. Number one, is it true that in the budget it's just 42 million naira that is given to you to communicate government policies in a year? Is that true? That's what the budget says? Because if that's what the budget says, it's appalling. You can't do anything with that.
It's appalling. It's absolutely. Absolutely. But I can assure you that the situation is changing.
So it's true.
The president is listening,
so it's true
taking action, and very soon...
So it's true that this year, you are just giving 42 million naira to communicate government policies.
Not that we have... Well, let me clarify that.
Okay.
We have last year when I got to office, the whole of the budget for NOA for last year was 193 million. And this year it is 220 million naira. If I give that to Arise, I'm sure within a month, that money will go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're correct.
If just take Arise, for instance, say, Arise, please, I want to engage in 1 month. 220 million will disappear.
Yeah.
And people will be asking, where is NOA?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can assure you the president is paying attention.
And also because I've been checking through some of your verticals. Your Twitter handle, for instance, you just only have 14,000 followers on Twitter, which I feel should be a whole lot more so that you can be able to drive the message. Also, your Explainer magazine, The Explainer, it's not as widely circulated. Yes. The only touch point I see as regards The Explainer is, just your Twitter page that you put it on from time to time. I mean, how can we help even amplify this Explainer more and do most of the work? Because I'm just concerned about the NOA, because we can criticize all we want, but you guys, 220 million is a walk in the park. It's got nothing. It can't do anything. So I feel for you.
Absolutely. You take the Explainer, for example. I can assure you the Explainer has some good traction. For instance, the Explainer gets to all the local government through all our local government staff, all the state through our state staff. It is meant for the elite. We have different, media vehicle that we are using for different segments of the, let me say demographics, So we design different technique to reach different segments based on their media habit. So, but I even called, my friend there, I don't want to mention his name, just about 2 weeks ago on how Arise can help, with the explainer. We discussed it. But you need the resources to move all of these things, So it's a different thing from knowing what to do, and then you have the wherewithal, the necessary tools to be able to do it. But I'm not bothered at all because I know the president was deliberate, and has always been talking about orientation, and he is very serious about it, and it's going to happen.
Okay, Lanre, there is this view. I don't think anybody can blame you directly for whatever they say about the National Orientation Agency. The popular view is that the NOA has been moribund even before now, and you confirmed it. I don't imagine that the issue is only funding. You have mentioned the offices that you have around the country. Could the problem that you encountered also be the skill set? Do you have the right kind of people to do the job for which the NOA was established? The second point that people are saying is that in the light of the Ronsaye report, that in fact NOA should be scrapped. Do you think it should be scrapped, or you think it has a potential that we can still revive?
Okay, so let me take it from that last question. If there's any institution that is mostly needed and badly needed in this country, is an institution that gives orientation to Nigerians. You must, like I said, build Nigerians before you can build Nigeria. The problem we have is that Nigerians don't give a damn about this country. And we have a clear blueprint that we call the National Values Charter on how to move forward. There have been past efforts at revitalizing, or at least calling Nigeria up to be patriotic. But we believe now in this new regime that has been one-sided. All the past efforts at making Nigerians to love their country have been one-sided, always focusing on the citizen, without the leadership putting anything on the table. It takes two to tango. You cannot say the citizens should be patriotic when leadership has not demonstrated, any form of, patriotism and dedication to the work. So the blueprint that we have, that the president is going to unveil very shortly, it has the two sides, coming to an agreement on what each side is committed to. And that's why we call it the National Values Charter. Once that is unveiled, then we will roll out the campaign. That is one side of it. Taking care of the two sides to the bargain. The second issue that has always been missing is that we don't have institutions of nurturing in this country. Every country that you see today, America, France, if you can't go to America, even as a foreign student, they will teach you what America is. You will understand what they mean by exceptionalism, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It's part of their value system. And so every American is nurtured. And no matter where you go, you will come across an institution of nurturing. We don't have that in this country. We have identified 7 institutions of nurturing that the government will establish, that no matter what route you follow, you're going to be nurtured to have those unique values. If today you say I'm not a good Nigerian, what exactly do you mean? It's your opinion, because we don't even have the definition of who a Nigerian is. And we must have, so that we can say this particular person does not represent us. So we must define who we are. And we must create institutions to nurture ourselves, on those values. And that is when we can create model citizens. And I'm sure that will happen under this government.
All right, well,
now, on the issue of the offices, yes.
Well, go on. You can just land on that point.
Okay, on the issue of the... Okay, on the issue of offices, like I said, out of 812 office locations, only 5 belong to NOA. A number of places we have been evicted, we can't pay rent, we can't do all of that. The staff from 7,000 is less than 4,000 now. So that will also affect, the kind of people you work with. But those who are around are patriotic Nigerians. They want to do their best. But you also know that, as they say, that I don't know if I should speak Yoruba, you know, so that goes, you know.
So money is important. All right. Well, thank you so much.
But yes, we are very...
Yeah. I mean, we must say that kudos, despite the restrictions with regards to funding, and we're hoping, obviously, that the appropriate authorities are listening, because this is an important agency that ought to, you know, get the required funding. Thank you for your time with us today.